Hello, this is Rabbi Katzavis from Beit Tikkun, a synagogue without walls. I hope you're doing well this Friday afternoon as we enter Shabbat. Tomorrow, on Saturday, April 20th, we'll be at Beit Tikkun. We'll be leading a Shabbat morning service followed by our Torah study. And we are in the book of Leviticus, which, among other things, focuses a lot on separation. And the book of Leviticus maintains a stark divide between life and death. And this Parsha this week, Metzorah, which means one who is afflicted with Tza'ara'at, which is understood to be leprosy, some type of skin disease. And it talks a lot about what do we do with people who are sick and people who have various excretions? How do we deal with separation? And it seems like we could understand that in very healthy ways, that when someone's sick, maybe they need to be separated so that they can heal and people don't get infected. On the other hand, there's also ways in which separation can really manifest as exclusion. And there's places in this Parsha and in the whole book of Leviticus where that happens, and it's deeply problematic and challenging. The Torah also talks about ways to reintegrate people after they've been separated or excluded. And there's some very interesting things to explore in that as well. So we'll be talking about all of that tomorrow on Saturday, April 20th. And I also wanted to just touch base and talk a little bit about what's happening in Gaza and also around the United States and in other countries with people who are standing up and demanding an end to genocide and demanding that Israel be held accountable for their offenses. And I've been reading and listening to different reports, and this morning I just was in tears at the travesty of justice and the inhumanity that we're witnessing. And one of the things I was listening to is what's happening on Columbia's campus with students who were protesting. There was hundreds of students on the campus protesting, and the campus, the university, decided to expel the students. Why? So that they could charge them with trespassing on the college campus, because of course, university students can't trespass on their own campus, particularly because they're paying tuition to be there. And so the university decided to expel them. And not only did they expel them, but they gave them 15 minutes to go to their dorm rooms, which they would have to be escorted to because they were locked out. They no longer had access to any of the buildings on campus. And they had 15 minutes to access and gather their belongings and leave. And all I could hear in that was the echoes of what Israel does in the West Bank and Gaza to people before demolishing and destroying their homes, giving them 15 minutes and saying, we're going to drop bombs and you have 15 minutes to gather your belongings. Now, none of us would think this was okay, to tell people that they have 15 minutes to gather their belongings. That is horrific. And when nature creates traumatic events such as earthquakes or fires, and people with fires, at least sometimes people have warnings and they have to evacuate their homes and they have very little time to pack up their belongings. And in fact, I've lived in situations where I've had my bags ready to go, and just having to choose what I'm going to take and what I'm going to leave behind is traumatic in and of itself. And I've never actually have to evacuate and watch my home be demolished. I never be able to return and get the rest of my things. That's never happened to me, but that is, these students now are experiencing on a very minor level, but nonetheless in a very profound way, what Gazans and West Bank Palestinians have been experiencing since 1948. And so that leads me to think about separation and exclusion, and what are the ways in which we're separating and excluding people from participating in their lives and in their communities and from speaking truth to power. And so all of this is things that we will be talking about tomorrow on Shabbat. And as we come up to Passover, which begins on Monday evening, the story of the Exodus, right? The story of our liberation from oppression. We are reminded that we are still on our journey of liberation. And part of our journey of liberation is to liberate ourselves from our own internalized trauma so that we don't continue to act as the oppressor to others. And so these are things that we'll be discussing and exploring also during our Seder, our community Seder, which is online and available to anyone who'd like to join us next Saturday, April 27th. The links are below to sign up both for the Torah study and for our Seder. And you can also access our Haggadah. Put together a new Haggadah this year, and you can access that as well, and the link is below. So please, I hope to see you on Shabbat tomorrow at our Celebration of the Universe and Torah study, which begins at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, or maybe at our Passover Seder or some other time. Feel free to send us comments and reflections about what we're doing and about this video. You can make those comments below, or you can email us at rabbi@beitikun.org. Wishing you all a healthy and nourishing Shabbat, one in which we can begin to heal from our traumas so that we all have the courage to stand up and say, never again is now, never again for anyone. Shabbat Shalom. And here's my dog. He sends his Shabbat wishes to you too. Have a great Shabbat.